Good evening, short story writers. Tonight we are, as promised, continuing the theme of love in the time of cholera stroke life in the time of COVID. I know that's what good titles are there for. They're to borrow and learn from, as in write what you know. Okay, so life in the time of COVID. This short story idea is again based on the premise that somebody is locked down and they are bored silly, so they decide to have a tidy up, and they come across either something of their own, a little time capsule, shall we say, of their own, or perhaps of a loved one who has flown the nest for whatever reason. Maybe a child that has gone to university or got married and gone, and this brings back the proverbial memories associated with the time capsule. Now, the time capsule can be, for the purposes of a short story, they can be either a journal, stroke diary, they can be a scrapbook of achievements at school. It could be that the tidy up is happening online and the person is going through their old photos, trying to declutter their hard drive. So these are all things that you are familiar with, we all are, and therefore fulfills the fiction writing prompts from everyday life label. And of course there would be a time theme to this, so this would tie in also with NaNoWriMo. And I realize we are now on day 12 of NaNoWriMo, but that doesn't mean simply because November ends that it has to end for you. In fact, the real writing would begin on, after the 30th of November in any case. There's nothing to say that you have to stop if you're on a roll and continue. I can't see that present conditions are going to change very much into December, so you will certainly have a few more days to take your story ideas and make them slightly longer. So, where obviously time capsules and this kind of thing lends itself very well to literary fiction. I shouldn't need to tell you how to adapt these things, and the feelings of nostalgia and maybe pain, heartbreak, love, joy, exultation that would go with it. Science fiction, now, it could be that you are stumbling upon the journals of the equivalent of a Dr. Frankenstein, the person who has flown the nest, or maybe yourself. It was your mad experimental days when you were performing all kinds of different experiments, and each one you'd forgotten about to an extent, and this is just jolting your memory, and you've decided, or your main character rather has decided to write them out either in first or in third person. Horror and fantasy also. It could be that as a child there were many monsters in your room, and or benign supernatural entities, and you had lots of adventures with them. Thriller, horror could well be that the person who's flown the nest was in some way caught up with international intrigue. If you fancy writing young adult fiction, then there's something to be mind there. The person, the child, had a secret double life, a bit like in the Kick-Ass movies, and unbeknownst to you, was doing things, and it doesn't have to be super. I was going to say they could have been doing Good Samaritan work, but that's not exactly the stuff of thrillers and action movies and action novels, is it? Anyway, that is the fiction writing prompt for today. As with all the short story ideas in this on this channel, if you find it good, give it a a thumbs up, a like, or whatever it's called. And if you find it absolutely terrible, no use whatsoever, don't be afraid to say why in the comments and give me a thumbs down. Okay, I have been remiss in reading the comments and getting back to you, and I apologize for that. I have been involved in a musical project and also in helping a friend out with some fairly dramatic studies that they've done. I've been pre-seeing some study material that they need shortening, so my editorial skills have come into their own there, but it has taken up a lot of my time and energy. So when I do get back on track, I will promise I will answer every one of your comments. Okay, as usual, happy writing.